Hello, everyone, and welcome to the podcast. I'm your host, Tom, and today we're going to be talking all about farmers markets. Joining me today on this episode are two of my very first friends. On the top left, you have a man called Chris. He's worked for 7 years as a chef, originally studying classic Italian cuisine before moving to modern Australian cuisine. He fearlessly experiments in the kitchen and outside the kitchen. And joining me on the bottom is also one of my very best friends, the amazing Sharna X Lee, author, coach, speaker, life changer, amazing human being. So I know you guys both have lots of experience going to the markets, much more than me. So I have a lot of questions that I want to ask you guys. Thank you for coming on. I think it's the appropriate. Yes, thank you. I think it's the perfect time to talk about this because as the restrictions are lifting, people are going out, there's almost a stigma around sort of Coles and Woolworths. It's almost like a dangerous place now. So I think people will be wanting to go out to farmers markets, but they maybe haven't done it before. So what I'd like to do today is just to put together a little video guide that they can watch or a podcast they can listen to on the way. That's really going to give them some value and sort of help them get started on their journey on making farmers markets a part of their life. Does that sound good?
Good.
Brilliant. Okay, so you've probably got a million tips each. So I've just put it as a question. So I'm just going to start firing away at you guys. So that's what we're going to do. So farmers markets, as we know, start uncomfortably early for most people, especially for the people who have to sit up there. So for the average person who wants to start going to farmers markets, wants to get good food, what time do you think they should get there? Chris, I'd love to hear your answers on this first one.
Well, back when I was having to get food for the restaurant as a chef, we had to be there at 6 o'clock in the morning because we obviously had to get in there and have best pick of everything before the general public started walking through. That way, our restaurant knew we had the best ingredients from that market that day. So.
That's brilliant. Before everyone's come along and just like smushed all the avocados with their hands and all this sort of thing.
Picking up the grapes and everything, yeah.
Yeah, brilliant. And you have done the same thing, obviously, Sharna, for you when you were working as a chef and just for yourself every week. What time do you get to the markets in the morning? On a lazy day.
On a lazy day. So for me, it's more, so I love the chef perspective, yes. Absolutely get there early. But for me, I've always been more the holistic and the personalized side of things. I mean, the markets are opening, we're all venturing out. We really want the social connection, the social time. So for me, it's more about a later time. It's generally the weekend. People want to wake up and just do their thing and then get into their day and trundle off down to the markets. So for me, I'm very much, I've been out of the commercial chefing world for quite some time. I really do more private functions, private chefing, and then also food guru work in epigenetics. So for me, it's more about like going at a later time because I'm an endomorph. Our body types are the sleeperinerers. So an early morning time of 6 a.m. sounds disgusting to me now. But it's more about getting into the markets for me and the experience of being around the people, the vibe, but then also being able to talk to the marketers when they're not so really busy, having a bit more time to chin wag, having a bit more time to graze through and find what you feel like having. But the other hot tip for me is I generally quite often will go later because they're generally trying to get rid of their produce. And as an at-home consumer, if you're someone who's actively cooking, you're actually going to use the produce within a day or two, generally. And you're going to keep it in the fridge generally. So it doesn't, if you want the best quality, yes, go earlier. But if you want bang for buck and also to know that you can go home and make your own bolognese or go home and make a beautiful fruit salad, go later because they're going to be getting rid of things cheaper and in bulk and you're going to get a better bargain.
And I've seen you come home with literal boxes of avocados and I've said, oh God, what did you pay for that? And you said $2. I was like, my God, like guacamole tonight. But yeah.
So I'm the ultimate bargain hunter and it's about just getting bang for buck for me and really about, and yes, you may not get everything. You may need to walk around the entire market to get everything on your shopping list because maybe they've run out of things, but it makes it more of an adventure to me.
Yeah. And that reminds me about something Chris and I were talking about just off camera before, that it is an experience going to the markets. It gives something you can make part of your life. And I was asking, that brings me to the next question. How do you find out where the produce you're looking at is coming from? Is it local? Chris, how do you interact with the people who are selling this food to find out where it's actually coming from and about the quality?
The best thing to do is just ask them.
Yep.
Guys that are running those stalls have absolutely no reason to lie to you about where their produce is coming from. If it's coming from one of their sister farms down south because the weather up here hasn't been too good, they'll tell you that. It's still going to be the best quality because they're going to where it is the best quality. If they say, yeah, no, it's the best, and then they give you stuff that isn't the best, that puts a really bad name on their market stall. So they're not going to go, oh yeah, it's perfect when it's not going to be. So the best thing to do is just ask. And if you don't understand anything, talk to them. The guys are there to actually make a name for their farms as well as make a name for themselves, and their produce is how they speak to the world. So
that makes a lot of sense. And farmers markets weren't a big part of my life. I grew up on the Gold Coast. It wasn't until I moved to Brisbane, I moved into a share house with Sharna, and the Milton Markets was our farmers market just down the road, and we started to go regularly. And yeah, I sort of didn't know what to expect. You know, I have social anxiety, and there's so many people. It's swarming almost, like. But yeah, all the all the attendants were very, very friendly, happy to help. So for me, I like to have an action plan when I go places. So if I'm going to the farmers markets, what should I buy first? What should I go for first? Chris, Sharna, will answer with you first, actually.
Yeah. So I love that you said that. Like, it's such an ectomorphic brain thing to do, where you're like, must have the plan so I can be efficient, which is you expressing yourself perfectly.
I'll cut that.
Me, so for me, it's normally like, you know, they've always got their signs out. Like today, signage is the thing. Like everyone's got to have the signage of everything that they are and everything that they be. So they always are going to present whether or not they're local or not. And if that's what you're really after, then yeah, go for them ones. The other thing I want to touch on is, yeah, always talk to them. Because the other thing is if they're your local and you're going to create this as a habitual thing to go and do for the experience each weekend, if you build a relationship with those people, you will get treated well. And if you have great demeanor and if you're asking great questions, the Milton Markets, there used to be a guy there that sold bananas, and we chatted so much that every time I'd go there, he'd always throw in a punnet of like raspberries or strawberries, or he'd throw in an extra one. So build the relationship. And it's the same in the chefing world, right? Like if you're someone who has an eating problem, like I can't have gluten, or I can't have this, or you're working in the mining industry, for instance, I always say to my clients, go speak with the chef and build a relationship. Your most valuable commodity is the provider. So go build a relationship, and if you get a good relationship with them, they will treat you well. Be someone different, be nice, be friendly, be courteous, be interested, because they will then favor you, remember you, and you will then get the benefit.
Even an invitation to the farm sometimes.
Yes. Oh my God.
It is the best.
Awesome. Did you have anything to add about that, Chris? Just from your perspective as a chef?
What was that, sorry?
I think Sharna was speaking mostly about, from what I interpreted, going down to the markets, just being really friendly with the stall owners.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Like that. Yeah. Does the same thing apply? Because there may be chefs watching this as well, how they could sort of leverage that same tactic to get better produce for themselves and for their customers.
100%. If you make a connection with the guy that's selling you your fruit or your veg or something like that, as I said, you may even get an invitation to the farm. If you have a kitchen that is getting a direct access to the farm, that is amazing, because it gives you that leg up, because you don't have to wait for it to travel to the markets. You don't have to wait for that. You will have a connection where you'll be able to have the pick of the crop, literally.
Like you're front of the line.
Exactly right. And it also makes it good for the farm as well. If you're working for, say, a 4-star restaurant and it's got on the menu, our produce is exclusively from this farm, it gives that farm a name.
Sure.
And it's incredible.
Did you have something to add there, Sharna?
Yeah. On that, like future pace, whether you're a chef or whether you're a commoner, future pace.
Muggles, okay.
Muggles, yeah. Let's Harry Potter out of this. Yes. So if you're, no matter what standard of customer you are, go in there and future pace with them. Not, you can flirt with them, but not flirt with them. Like go, oh, I've walked past your stall so many times and I've been meaning to come in and see you because I'm here all the time. Like give them that future pacing and that understanding that if they treat you well, you will come back. Like use that to your advantage and really, it's like flirting with them, but really giving them this this realization: if you treat me well, and oh, I've been meaning to bring my girlfriend down here, and she loves this fruit, or she loves this thing, or this really matters to her, or my friends, or my clients. And if you future pace with them, their dollars start dropping around them, and they start realizing that you're someone to nourish.
Exactly. And one of the most powerful things that we have as chefs is that we can invite those people into the restaurant for a meal. And we build the relationship that way, because if they want to see what we're doing with their produce, any owner of any restaurant is going to be happy with offering a free meal to a farmer and his wife so that they can see how we make magic with what they give us. And that builds up that relationship as well. And that can lead into massive events like degustations and everything like that, where we feature something that only that farm has, or we just feature that farm. And it makes something that is just as simple as fruit and veg for a shop into something special. And it's incredible. And that's where food can link everyone together.
You can even do that as a general person. You could bake something and take it back in there like that next week or later that day or something, and take it back and re-gift them. I know for some people you're like, I ain't got time for that, and that's fine. But if you do, that's the sort of stuff where you're like, oh, I made this bolognese sauce the other day and I froze some and I brought you down a little sandwich bag full of it. Like whatever.
It's a nice gesture. Yeah. I did actually try baking my first thing like last weekend, stepping out of my lane. You thought it was the Hansa tart, the Hansa
pie, yes.
But no, it was a kale and lemon tart, which I made and then destroyed, and Chris helped me remake in a proper way. But yeah, it was pretty good. So I'm a chef too, guys.
It was
good. Okay. So
we'll apprentice you.
Yes, awesome. We like printing the whole thing. So this show's got the Brisbane Biohackers, obviously. So coming back to the question of where do you find the produce, where it's coming from, the produce that you see around in the farmers markets of Brisbane, say even the Milton markets, Northeast Street markets, Rockley markets, where is that produce coming from, do you think? Maybe Sharna, you could start on this one.
Yeah, so the Northern Street markets have a little more of a stricter policy, and there are some markets that hold a certain standard of provider. So generally they are the Mulaney's, all those like local producers, definitely, and they are definitely organic, and there's a rigidity to what they provide. They also ensure that there's fair trade up there at the Northern Street, and a lot of the markets will do the same thing. They will only allow a certain number of providers of that sort of style of product, so that there's not too much competition. They keep it fair. I like that about the markets, rather than Coles and Woolies where they're shoving every man and his dog in there to compete with each other. There's
50
a lot
types
more
of kombucha,
yeah. So there's a lot more integrity and fairness in the marketplace. But you will always see at the different markets, whether it be Milton or West End, Milton's getting there. West End has been there for so long that they have this massive community support base that they have, and they have some favoured, but you will find there'll be more of the Asian cheaper brand come in, which you cannot necessarily guarantee where that's coming from. They will quite often be from other sources, and they're the really cheap product. And then you will see your boutiques that actually take the time to put it in cute baskets and present them nicely, and they don't have this abundant. So if you see them where they have mass production and big boxes and crates of things, you know they're probably actually going to not be rather local. But if they're in little cute baskets and there's less quantity on display, that they will more than likely be a Ridge local supplier, organic. They've taken the time, they've got their heart and soul in their business.
That's great. I love that. And this reminds me of something that you said, Chris. Actually, one of your tips to me was don't necessarily go for things out of bags like straight away. So you say a bag of 5 lemons for $1 sounds like a great deal, but the 2 on the top might look good, but the 3 on the bottom might be not so good. So yeah, if you're shopping at the market for yourself, how would you go about finding the best produce just for cooking for yourself or your friends?
Well, obviously, if I'm going to the markets to just shop, if I'm looking at a stall and it's got all of its produce in plastic bags, just stacked up, ready to go, I'm going to be a little bit hesitant. What are they hiding? So if I can see one that has their produce out where I can actually inspect the fruit, that's going to be more the one that I want to go to, because I want to be able to pick up that lemon or that tomato, and I want to be able to see that that's a quality thing without having to dig it out of a bag. And it also shows that that farmer or that market stall, they actually care about their produce because they're putting it on display. If you want to display a plastic bag, then maybe you should be putting your stuff into Coles, like instead of giving it.
They love plastic bags over there. Yeah,
exactly right.
Yeah, brilliant. So, okay, a bit of a controversial question. Is there anything that either of you would not buy at a market that you would buy somewhere else? You see people picking up. Are there any like sham products? Is there any snake oil salesmen around? I see these honey people selling their bespoke honey. There's all these kind of weird massage places. Are there any no-goes at the market that people need to know about?
I know that a lot of the, like, if you would go to the mall, and I'm not being racist by any means, but you can see it. It's the Asian marketplaces that have the different versions of the coconut oil and the different versions. Like, you've got packaged stuff that you can see that they've purchased cheap somewhere else, and they're just reselling it. They're not an authentic provider of that product. Then I would definitely say you can probably get a better deal somewhere else. Go to the health. If that's what they're selling, you're probably better off going to the health shop. Like, I know, especially at the moment, by the way, guys, where we're in a prime opportunity, a lot of the health food shops you go to, they haven't had the business they've always had. So they're going to have a lot of things on sale that are the same thing they're selling at the markets that they've got at the health food shop. More of a reputable source. It depends on the market, you know, if it's, look at the person selling it. You can always get an integral understanding of that person very quickly. There's those jars and things like that. And honey, I would, if that's all they sell.
Sure.
You know, if they're specializing in that product, they're specializing in that product. If it's a mishmash of all bits and pieces, then I know that they're just getting bits and bobs on special and potentially could be tampering with it before they on-sell it to make a dollar. Okay,
like, I guess it's a farmer's market. I guess everyone's welcome. I don't know what the entry requirements are. If you say if I wanted to get a stall at the Milton markets, could I just rock up with my trailer and just be like, hey, I'm selling Himalayan lamps today. Come and get them, $10 each. Should I do that?
Yep. If you're willing to pay, they will take you on.
Wow. Okay.
Most market stalls are around about $80 a day to $100 a day, depending on where they are. And as long as you have enough stock to last you the day, they'll let you trade as long as you organize it.
Sweet. As long as you're not selling like AK-47s or something like that.
Yeah.
Well,
edible ones,
maybe. Today.
Okay, brilliant.
But one thing that I sort of steer away from purchasing at markets is meat. Because you can go to a butcher, and that way you're actually supporting local businesses already because it's a butcher. Don't go to Coles and everything like that to get your meat if you can help it. Because a butcher is not that much more expensive. You know you're getting quality. You're keeping people in work. And you're going to get a much better choice. Like, you look at what happened at the start of this pandemic, and the only things that were left on the shelf at Coles and that was the 2-star bloody mince and some pork and that, whereas butchers still had meat. Like, go support your local businesses. Like, they're there for a reason.
Wow, yeah. Come on, guys.
Yeah. And butchers and the fish shops, I think, because...
Oh, yes.
Yeah, the fish ones as well. I mean, 9 times out of 10... I mean, I know that at West End, there is a butcher fish seller, and they are local, and you can go talk to them, and they tell you where they got them from. And they are a local butcher, and you can talk to them and find out if they have a shop nearby or whether this is what they're doing. And that will generally give you an idea.
Okay, so a lot of, like Chris said, like proper butcher shops will have sort of like a pop-up store within the market they use to sell maybe surplus stock or experiment with different products or something like that.
And take it to the people. That's what a lot of people are doing, is they might have their business, but they realize that maybe their walkway traffic isn't the greatest. Maybe their location and demographic ain't the greatest. So going to the market, they're going to the people and being like, hey, and at the same time, if they build that conversation with their clients, they can go, yeah, but at the shop, I've got all my Met West range. At the shop, I've got all my Scotch fillets. At the shop on Thursdays, we do a sale. So, they can build that conversation and draw clients in easier.
Yeah, exactly.
And most local butchers, when they're actually down at the markets, are running a sausage sizzle. So you can go around the markets eating their sausages, and then you're like, hang on a second, when you're walking past it in the street later, it's like, I really enjoyed that sausage. I'm going to go buy a kilo. And that's how they get their brand out there. But you're not going to be going down there to buy like a rack of lamb or anything like that. Like that's where you go to the shop for. In my hometown where I grew up, it was right on the river and everything like that, near the co-op, and we had the Riverwalk markets. That was the best place to get seafood because right next to it was the co-op. So they literally would just have a table outside the co-op and you'd go and get your fresh fish that's just come off the trawler. Up here, you don't exactly have that. They're probably driven around with that in the back of the truck for around about 30 minutes to the stall.
Wow, okay.
So probably go to a fishmonger for that.
Fishmongers for that. Okay, yeah. If you don't mind me talking about going off on a bit of a side tangent about fish in Brisbane, obviously it's not like we can't just walk over and just grab it straight out of the ocean. We got to go to a store. Any tips? Yeah, go fishing in the canals, catch a gumboot. Do you guys have any tips for finding good seafood? I've bought seafood from the markets before. I've bought fillets. I bought salmon. That was okay. I've gone to the health food stores and bought the wild caught Canadian sockeye salmon, which is ludicrously expensive, but really, really good. Where do you guys go for your good seafood? Can you get it at the markets or do you have to go somewhere else?
Direct locations I only have roughly. I try to get it where I can, where it's fresh. I've just moved to a new location, so I'm still figuring out where my location at the Gold Coast is. But I know that in Brisbane, there was always a good one at Hamilton, near the water there. There's a fish marketplace. Okay. There's also a butcher's. I had one of my exes was an absolute stickler for quality. And he was very particular about where he got his seafood from for Christmas and Easter. So there's a butcher in Brendale that does really good seafood. They actually specialize their specialty. And then there's also another one out towards Scarborough.
Cool. We'll put all these links in the show notes, guys, once we've got them anyway, so they'll all be there for you.
I'll message him and find that detail out for you guys. But he was a stickler for it.
Great.
On the Gold Coast, the best place for your fresh seafood is the fishmonger directly behind the Grand at Labrador.
That's not far from me. Brilliant.
Yep. It is absolutely amazing. Probably the freshest fish, and the boats literally pull up to the back of the co-op. It is awesome. There is also a fresh fishmonger here in Toulon, just down next to the real estate agent and all that. Can't remember the name of the street. It's got a massive inflatable crab out the front.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I know exactly.
Yeah, your real estate agent, Tom.
Yeah. I'm the Connie as those guys. Anyway.
Yeah.
Oh, the controversy.
Yeah. It's not a real estate podcast. Okay, moving on. So when people are getting ready for the markets, getting real practical, because I like practical tips. What does someone need to take with them before they go to the markets? Because they might get there, walk around for a bit, they might go and grab a coffee, then they start buying things. They buy one thing, two things. So they got a coffee, they got a ham with two things. Now they're on Struggle Street. Like what do they do? What do they need to bring to be most effective? Do you think?
Number one thing is money.
Money, yes.
But like, if you're shopping for a business, like for a restaurant or something like that, bring a list. Because in my case, I was the sous chef, so I was the one going down. My head chef would give me a list. I would have to go down and get it. He's not going to waste his time with that. He's got a kitchen to organize. So have a list. So that way, when you're down there, you don't get distracted with walking around and looking at all the pretty things if you're doing it for a business. If you're doing it for yourself, have fun.
Because they do offer bags, and it's usually some of these
Have a
like
box.
grab a box. Yeah, that was Chris's recommendation as well.
I've got photos of me holding 2 big like boxes full. And bring a friend.
Yeah, free labor.
Bring a friend. Get a box each. Or those trolleys are always cute, but I never ever think to buy one because they're always obscenely expensive. But grab a box or grab one of those trolleys. They're cute. But I generally say go for a walk around the market. Have a look at what you like. Go get a coffee. Go get your food to eat. And then go buy. You've done the rounds. You know what's there. Suss out all the places. Suss out all the prices. Suss out the quality. Then buy afterwards. Because you're going to be hungry.
That's underrated advice.
Yeah. So go look around, get your coffee, go find where you want to eat your food for your breakfast if you're getting that, and then go buy your food. So you're not emotionally eating either or buying either.
Exactly. And I remember hearing that.
When it comes to food, you're always emotionally buying.
I'm an endomorph. That's my thing.
That's awesome. Yeah, I remember who I read that from, but said, don't go to the supermarket when you're hungry because you're going to make bad decisions. And so, that's part of the experience of the fun of going to the market for me is wandering around and getting my little food and little like ritzy coffee and then just having a play, and it's great.
Another reason why you should bring a friend is that way you can both like try multiple things and then try them. Like, because if you go by yourself, you might buy 1 thing or 2 things, and then that's piggish to buy a 3rd thing. But if you're with someone else, you can be sharing all the things.
They can be photographing you. You can be photographing them. You can be sharing it. Like...
Instagram.
Brilliant. Okay, so that's pretty much all the practical tips I wanted to cover off. I want to get to some food-specific advice now. Just for buying proteins versus fresh foods and vegetables. Chris, you mentioned something about using if you're buying seafood at the market, they're always going to offer you a styrofoam box. Then you should use that. Why is that?
Well, usually if you're getting seafood from the markets or something like that, they're going to have styrofoam boxes there full of ice that's going to keep it cold. So if you're grabbing multiple things like produce and fresh seafood, get your produce first. You can walk around the markets with produce. You're not going to walk around the markets with seafood unless you want that seafood to be bad by the time you get back to your car. So it's about like what's going to perish first. And make sure you do get your coffee or you will perish first.
Priority number 1. I love it. Yeah. And the meats, unless they're looking for something specific, maybe just head to the butcher's after on the way home. Yeah,
exactly. Get it from the butcher. It's local, and if you need anything cut up or changed, they can do that for you. They're not going to have a setup at the markets to be able to cut stuff to order or anything. So go to the butcher.
Probably not. And I think just intuitively, maybe you guys will know more about this than me. I think the act of going to the butcher, we've sort of lost that a little bit as a society. Like people are almost afraid to go to the butcher because they don't want to admit that they know nothing about cuts of meat or anything or ask questions. So if someone was to go into the butcher, what advice would you have for them? I would have to go into specific cuts of meat or whatever. Is it just tell the butcher what you want to make and he'll advise you with the best cuts and cut it up for you? Is it that easy? Yeah. And it's just as cheap as...
You can ask him, what's good? Like, what have you got today that's good? Because the thing with a butcher is their freezers and fridges, they change constantly because they're constantly making new things. Like, you got your sausages and everything like that. But 1 week they might decide to make sausages with something completely different in it. And they want you to try it. So you ask them, what have they got now that's good or different? And try it. Like, try everything at least once.
And the butchers will give you the opportunity of variety. They'll give you the opportunity of knowing what's coming up, what's in season. Hey, I want to make I've got my auntie coming over and she's terrible and she gets picky about X, Y, Z. What can you suggest? And they're going to go, well, actually, this is probably going to be the best thing. Like, there's several people you should really keep in your back pocket. And it's a good butcher for one, definitely.
Definitely.
And a baker.
accountant, butcher, baker. Done on the list.
Candlestick maker.
Stick maker. Okay, fruits and vegetables. Any tips around looking for the freshest fruits and vegetables? Obviously, like I walk around, I'm like sort of like visually inspecting first, and I say like, oh, I want that lemon looks nice. It looks nice and yellow. That's what lemons are supposed to look like, right? And I'll sort of like fumble over and sort of like, oh yeah, that looks about right, you know. And I'll just go up there. Are there any sort of just any insider tricks you guys can share with us about how to just spot bad fruit that's been disguised to be sold quick, or is it just a matter of getting there early to get the best produce? Is that how you get it? Or
if they have exotic fruits and vegetables on their thing, you know they're not local. If they're selling dragon fruit at a market here in Brisbane, don't worry about going to them, because that has either come from very far north Queensland or overseas. And most of the time they've come in from overseas and they're going into the market stalls where people are just, as Sharna said before, selling off the cheap stuff that they bought earlier on for a market price. So if you see something that you don't recognize, or you think, hang on a second, that doesn't grow around here, yes, you can ask them, but probably steer away from that. Like, especially if it's like a Durham or something like that. They don't grow here. There's no reason for us to buy them here.
What was
So,
that
I mean,
farmers market.
there is that, but then there's also, I totally agree with you, and that's absolutely relevant, but I also see that as the supermarket's going to sell it anyway. So choose whether you're going to buy the dragon fruit from the markets or from them. Saying that, I actually have a dragon fruit plant at the back with one dragon fruit on it, which is mind-blowing to me as well. I was like,
Really?
And I agree with you. Yeah. Like, I think it just depends on you and your lifestyle. Are you someone that's going to need the fruit to sit there for a while and be good for the whole week? Or are you someone who plans to go home and produce a whole heap of food and bake a heap of stuff? If you're going to make a banana bread, you want the dingiest looking banana there. You know, you want it to be ripening quickly. You want it to be sweet. You want it to be, if it's got bad skin, who cares? But I've also been...
One of the things that always boggled me about making banana bread, my mother would always make it and it was delicious, but she would wait for the bananas to go really black and like have them in the freezer. And I was like, what? How is that better than a fresh banana? I don't get it.
Because that's when they start releasing their sugars.
Yes.
Oh,
and they become sweeter.
Oh, okay. So my child brain's just on this big sugar high, and I'm just like, okay, I understand now. It all makes sense now.
Ectomorphs, they love their sugar. But I think the other thing is, just if your lifestyle is that you're going to need it to last a while, yes, get the most prettiest, fantastic. But be warned, the thing is that a lot of people still pick things and ripen them with chemicals, and so they get picked early. And if you've had a bad weather, like bad water season and whatnot, even though they look pretty on the inside, it's a fallacy that they're always going to be beautiful on the inside.
Yeah.
The nature of everything.
Tomatoes are a #1 killer.
Yes. Yeah.
They are chemically ripened on the outside with sulfur.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Again, Kristen, you were speaking about this concept of gassing, which people might be familiar with. Could you have a quick explanation for us?
Yeah, so before I became a chef, I actually worked on different properties up in Bundaberg, and there are gassing chambers on the tomato farms out there because they've got Coles and Woolworths people coming in, inspecting their stuff. By the time it gets back to the restaurants in those trucks, they're going to be rotten if they are fully ripe. So they artificially ripen the outside so they look awesome. And while they're traveling, that's when they're ripening on the inside. You can tell whether they've been chemically ripened. If you look at the bottom, every tomato will have like a 5-point star on them. If those star points are wider, it means that they're not fully ripe in the middle and it's been artificially ripened on the outside.
Oh, good safety tip, guys.
They're called breakers.
Breakers. All right, I'll put that notes as well. Avoid the white tomatoes. That's bad. That's bad news. Okay, we'll move straight along. So we're running out of time here. The individual markets, there's a lot of them in Brisbane. We won't go into all of them. Some of the big ones we've mentioned are Milton Markets there in Milton, Northeast Street up on the north side, West End, Brisbane City. There's a few pop-up ones now. What I'd love to do with you guys is a little video series actually, so we can go and share with people. We've actually done something really special for you guys that are watching. Both Chris and Sharna have selected recipes themselves using all seasonal ingredients that are available at the markets. So those are going to be available in the show notes as well. So if you're thinking about going out to the markets this weekend, just grab that list, go there, have a coffee, have a feed, go and get those items, and then go home and make something, and you can say you've been to the farmer's market and done it like a boss. So look out for more content. We'll be using videos of us going out to the market, showing you how to do all the stuff we talked about, showing you how to find the fresher stuff, showing you how to talk to things. So this is just the first part of this series, guys. I hope you're going to get so much value out of it. I want to thank Chris for joining us today. I want to thank Sharna for joining us today.
No worries. And I think you guys will have a hashtag coming through soon to keep everyone linking back to as they're creating these things. They could be hashtagging the podcast.
Yeah, they need to be hashtagging the podcast. We're going to get on that right now. Okay, guys. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone, for watching. We'll speak to you soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.